Hey all, things getting pretty busy for the upcoming week weather-wise. This is the 300 millibar chart up at 30,000 feet. So this is North America right here. There's the California coast. There's Mexico. There's the Gulf and the East Coast and Canada. And the North Pole right up there. So a very strong jet going from Japan towards the coast just off Oregon. And there's even a trough offshore, a very strong trough between the U.S., California there, and Hawaii, which is off in that direction. And we've got a very meridional pattern. We have very strongly defined ridges off to the west, very strongly defined trough in the central U.S., and it kind of flattens out as we get east. So this is kind of a high amplitude pattern, and that's going to favor this pattern progressing eastward over the next few days. So what do we got at the surface? This is the surface chart here. We have high pressure across the Great Basin. When we get high pressure just sitting there like that over Idaho, Nevada, and Utah, we favor fog. And we're not seeing a whole lot of that. A little bit of fog here north of Salt Lake City and maybe some in northeastern Utah. But it's when these highs sit there for days and days that we start seeing the inversions developing and fog and cloudy weather. This pattern is a little more progressive, so we're not actually seeing that. And we will see that high kind of like diminishing over the next few days. So we've got a very strong low pressure area off the British Columbia coast. Where are the fronts? Well, it's a good question. It's kind of hard to tell just looking at this chart here. Let's look at the upper level conditions. Okay, so it looks like a very strong jet, sort of heading towards Oregon, and then curving northeast towards the British Columbia coast, north of Victoria Island. So we translate that to the surface chart. So remember, we had a jet heading for roughly Oregon, then curving north of Victoria Island. So there's the upper level jet. What does that tell us? Well, we've probably got a cold front oriented like this. And I'm looking at the curvature in the wind field right through there. Winds are more westerly here and more southeasterly or southwesterly here. And then probably a warm front kind of like that. The triple point, it's kind of a mess there. Triple point is directly underneath the front, and then it arcs northward as an occluded front. So if I actually use proper colors, I would draw that in purple, draw the warm front and cold front symbology, and that would feed into a occluded low to the north. So that's kind of what we're looking at. So this is the main baroclinic area that associated with that system that's going to head towards British Columbia. So what does that mean for us? Well, we need to watch this cold front. Here's what happens over the next few days. Okay, cold front's something like that. Well, let's try drawing that in blue. There we go. So cold front coming towards the Washington coast. This is around Wednesday midday. And we're going to watch this tail end of the front over the next few days. Watch what happens. Okay. First system comes on shore around Friday. There it is, coming into Washington. The tail end looks like that. And then getting into Saturday, look at the tail end of that front. There's something starting to come together right here, about 600-700 miles west of California. Watch what happens going into Saturday. See that coming together right there, a low pressure area. And as we get into Sunday, it comes on shore. We got a full swing cold front. There's the warm front. So a very powerful weather system coming into San Francisco, Sacramento, the San Joaquin Valley. And that'll be our next big weather maker early next week. So here's what the GFS is forecasting for next week. It's going to cross the mountains around Sunday into Monday, and that's always a fun time to try to track the fronts. Very challenging to do that as they come through the mountain passes and valleys. And then by Tuesday, it emerges on the other side. We get some active weather here in Texas. Cold front's going to be looking about maybe something like that by this time. Maybe a warm front kind of like that. So certainly active through the southern plains. And then by Tuesday and Wednesday, it moves up towards Illinois to the Great Lakes area there. A very powerful weather system, probably going to have a lot of winter weather advisories in the north central U.S. And that heads roughly towards Canada, Ontario, and Quebec and dissipates there. And in its wake, a lot of high pressure, cool air streaming southward. So once that system passes, we should have some pretty mild weather. After that, who knows? It's like another system coming for the Oregon coast, but this is getting way out of the range of the models. See, we're already up to February 9th, so this is pretty far out. And looking very quickly at conditions aloft, here's how they progress. This is this weekend, Sunday and Monday. So you see that jet coming out to the California coast, very active. By Monday, it digs on down into Texas, so there should be quite a bit of weather in Texas for Sunday or for Monday and Tuesday. And then getting into Friday, several days later, very meridional pattern that'll help kick some cool air southward out of Canada. Probably not Arctic type cold, but certainly on the cold side. And after that, who knows? This looks a little bit like a Rex block troughing south of this big ridge. That could lock up the pattern a little bit over the weekend, but we'll see what happens there. So that's just a quick look at the big picture, and maybe we'll find something to look at for tomorrow, something interesting. Maybe elsewhere in the world, we looked at Asia over the past couple of days, and maybe we'll take a look at Europe and see what's going on there. Anyway, we will see you tomorrow.